Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you guys for all being here. Thank you guys for allowing me to talk to you about the latest Phoenix Suns news. Thank you to everybody that is going to be watching along live. Thank you for everybody who is watching later. Happy Friday, y'all. Even though I've done close to 7 hours of live streaming in the last 2 days, and that's not a joke, we went live for about 4 hours during round one of the NBA draft, and then about 2 hours and 45 minutes just yesterday. And then all of a sudden, all this Phoenix Suns news started to come out and things that I wanted to talk about and recap. And I was like, all right, I was like, I'll do one more live show. And maybe tomorrow I can actually take a day off before the NBA free agency hits. And I'll be live streaming for probably like 4 hours again. But going to be a fun show, y'all. Lots to talk about. And by the way, I'm not trying to complain about that. I'm just saying it's just a lot of live streaming. And you already know the drill. One-man show here. So in today's show, y'all, we are going to be recapping the Phoenix Suns 2024 NBA draft. And yes, Jason, we will be talking about that Pelicans trade later, because if you did not hear about it, DeJounte Murray did get traded, and I cannot wait to talk about that later because I have some thoughts about that. But anyways, so let's start off with the Phoenix Suns 2024 NBA draft recap. The Phoenix Suns draft has come and gone. And look, y'all, I know it wasn't, let me say this. It was a really, really good draft. It wasn't a perfect draft. I don't know if there really is such thing as a perfect draft. But it was a great draft. And here is a great example of why it was a perfect, not perfect. Here's a great example of why it was a really good draft. So shout out to Gerald Bourguet from PHNX. And I made a YouTube short about this just in case you guys missed it. Let me fix my little screen here too. There we go. That looks better. Okay, give me a second here, you guys. Let's see. All right, cool. So here is what the Phoenix Suns ended up with in the 2024 NBA draft. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second here. All right, cool. So Phoenix Suns drafted Ryan Dunn at number 28. They traded down from the number 22 overall pick. Now, it gets a little confusing, and we're going to dive into the whole trades and all that later because it gets a little crazy. We were live reacting to all of this, by the way, in live time as it was happening. So, Phoenix Suns draft Ryan Dunn at number 28. The Denver Nuggets, by the way, because we had the 22nd pick, the Denver Nuggets drafted Deron Holmes, the second, I believe. Then all of a sudden, we're like doing our live show. We're having a good time. We're talking all things Suns and NBA. We are reacting to everything. And all of a sudden, I think it was Shams Charania from The Athletic who tweets out, the Phoenix Suns are drafting at number 40, or like they're drafting Oso Ighodaro at 40. We're like, what? We're like, how did the Phoenix Suns end up with the 40th pick? And then that's when we found out that they traded up from their number 51 and 56 pick after trading a Boston pick for 51. It gets really confusing, but they had that 56 pick because Denver gave us, a second rounder and then future second rounders and all that. So we traded to Boston, traded down and all that, and we got the 40th pick, and we drafted Oso Ighodaro from Marquette, who I'm going to talk about here in a little bit. And then once the draft was over, I wish I would have maybe stayed live for like an extra 30 minutes, because after that, we started getting all these two-way signings. And we started getting some Exhibit 10 signings, which I'm going to also talk about that later too. Then we signed on a two-way deal Jaylen Bridges, who I will be talking about a little bit later as well, who, by the way, you guys know me. I am not a draft expert, but when I started my draft homework about a month or so ago, I wrote a few things down about Jaylen Bridges, watched some highlights. I was intrigued. And now that he's actually on our team now, well, at least on a two-way deal he is, it's more exciting. He was one of my players that I had on the list. Then, like I mentioned, we ended up with a future 2026 and a future 2031 second round pick, both from Denver. So that is the draft recap. Ryan Dunn at 28, Oso Ighodaro at 40, Jaylen Bridges, undrafted, but we signed him on a two-way deal, and then 2 future second round picks from the Denver Nuggets. And then we're going to dive into this later, but we also signed, and I just want to make sure I'm getting these names right. We also picked up, I just had it, Tyrese Samuel and Boo. I can't pronounce this. I'm forgetting his last name, but we picked up 2 guys on deals, and we're going to dive into all of that. So that is the Phoenix Suns draft recap. And I think it was a pretty good draft. By the way, you guys, there is a poll going on in the chat right now, and I'm going to pull it up just in case here. There's a poll going on in the chat right now. You guys can give your opinion. You guys on how you think the Phoenix Suns draft was. Do you give it an A? Do you give it a B? Do you give it a C, or do you give it a D or an F? So right now, I'm looking at the poll. I mean, we're only like a few minutes in here, but 46% of people give it an A+. 50% of people give it a B. 0% of people give it a C, and then 4% give it a D or an F. Those are probably the negative Nancys. So that is the Phoenix Suns draft recap. And I think it was a pretty good draft, you guys. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about him because we did that pretty in length. But let's just quickly talk about Ryan Dunn. We're actually going to react to something as well, including Ryan Dunn. But I'm really excited, you guys. Obviously, we know that he is a defensive dog. But the more I look into him, the more excited I get. Untapped potential, a lot of upside. I know that the offensive game is his flaws. I understand that. And I understand why there might be some concern with it. But if Ryan Dunn can even just become a somewhat decent three-point shooter, a decent all-around shooter, that's good enough for me. I will take it. And I just personally think that he is going to work his tail off, and we're gonna talk about that in a little bit. I think he's going to work his tail off to prove the haters wrong and prove the critics wrong that he is going to be a good three-point shooter one day. So before we dive into all this, you guys, I just want to give some shout outs to everybody who is watching along live. Classy Nasty, is in here. Chantel says, hey, Suns Geek. I appreciate you being here, Chantel. Jason is in here. Thank you, Jason. We will talk about that Pelicans trade later. My guy, Sawbucks23 is in here. The Suns got better on defense. Let's see what happens in free agency. Absolutely. Like I said, you guys, hopefully tomorrow we can all take a breather. We can take a day off. And then Sunday, I believe it's like 3 o'clock my time or something like that, or 4 o'clock Eastern. That's when free agency kind of starts and all that. It's going to get nuts, y'all. So my guy Saul's in here. Appreciate you. Jason, Chris, Daniel, Sir Hamo from the Suns Planet podcast. He says, Suns Geek is the best. Hulk smash that like button, peeps. Yes. Hulk smash that like button. Crush the like, you guys. Share the show. It really helps me out if you guys do that. And I really appreciate it. And Jobin is in here as well. Howdy, geek. Thank you, Jobin, for being here. All right, y'all. So let's start with Ryan Dunn. Like I said, we have talked a pretty good chunk about him. I even made a video kind of about him before we even drafted him. So go check all that out. You know, I'm very excited for this prospect. Okay. I believe he's like 6'8". I thought he was 6'6", but I guess those measurements were wrong or something like that. But 6'6", believe he's like just a little bit over 200 pounds, 7'1" wingspan. I believe the numbers aren't great, but again, I think this guy's going to work his tail off. And here's why I say that, you guys. And I first off love seeing stuff like this. The Phoenix Suns social media team shared this. This is James Jones. This is Matt Ishbia, our owner, Josh Bartelstein, calling Ryan Dunn after the pick was in. And we're going to react to it, you guys. I think this is a lot of fun. I love seeing stuff like this. And listen, I'll try to be quiet throughout the whole time, but listen to like the tone of his voice when he's talking to James Jones and company. Like I just get a vibe like this guy's going to be, and you'll hear him say it like he's going to live in the gym. So listen to what he says right here, y'all. Let me put my headphones on and listen to this, you guys. Here we go.
Hey, Ryan.
What's up? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's James Jones, Matt Ishbia, Josh Bartelstein with the Suns, man. Just welcome you to the family.
Yes, sir. I'm grateful. I thank you for having me. I'm excited to get down there. I'm ready to go to work from day one.
I know. I told you.
Trust me. I promise you. I'll be in that gym. I live in that gym. I promise you.
Yeah, I told you post workout, we're gonna make it happen. So
Yes,
excited to have you here, man. Excited to have you. Start the journey.
Sir.
Let's get it going.
Yes, sir.
Is this Ryan Dunn?
Oh, and this is Coach Bud.
Yes.
Ryan, you ready to go?
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go right now.
I knew when I saw you in theater that night you were our guy.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Congratulations. We're very happy for you. Happy for us.
Thank you.
Hey, Ryan, Matt Ishbia here. How you doing, man? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. I promise you. I promise you. We'll pray out for you. I promise you that.
We're excited to have you. We've been talking about you for a week. We're excited about it. We're going to get you here.
Ryan, we'll see you soon. Go enjoy the night with your family.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
So yeah, you guys like listen, he's like let me get to the right part here. So first off, couple key quotes from this. Obviously starting off with the whole like, I promise you, James Jones, like I'm going to be locked in that gym. I'm going to live. Let me lower this banner. It's literally on the screen right now. I'm going to live in that gym. I love that from Ryan Dunn. But one thing, and I quote tweeted this video last night. One thing that I like was, at least in this video anyways, James Jones said that they were looking at him for like, or he said like post-workout where like they were going to make it happen. And then I guess Mike Budenholzer was like, we've been looking at you for weeks and all that. And we've been talking about you for weeks. So it really does seem like, despite all the criticism that I've given James Jones and the way he drafts and everything, it really does seem like they've been doing their homework and they actually were scouting and looking into Ryan Dunn. And they must have been blown away. You know, as Jobin says, quote, I'll live in that gym. Huge W. Exactly. Sir Hamo says, wow, that is huge. Like, I love it, man. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I want to see from our newest draft pick. So again, you guys, we've talked a lot about Ryan Dunn. Again, go check out the past live shows. Check out the most recent video I uploaded where I talked a little bit more about Ryan Dunn. This was even before we even drafted him, by the way. Go check all that out. But one player who I'm still getting a little familiar with, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys, is Oso Ighodaro. And actually, real quick, I forgot to pull up these last two things here. Before we move on to Oso Ighodaro, I like this tweet from Suns Are Better, one of my favorite follows on Twitter, who just simply says, can you guys see that okay, by the way? Yeah, you guys can see that okay. Who just simply says, and this was a conversation that Ryan Dunn was having with Hoops Hype, and he says, what he'll bring to the NBA right away from his conversation with Hoops Hype, quote, you're bringing in a defensive monster who can guard right away, learn your schemes, and be able to hold my own. And then he says, Suns got a weapon. And then I guess under there's a link to the interview. I have to go read that later. And then one more thing about Ryan Dunn before we move on to Oso Ighodaro. This comes from Cameron Cox from is it 12 News or something like that? But Cameron Cox, shout out to him. This was his post-draft day, or at least part of his post-draft day interview. And it's about 42 seconds long. We're going to react to it. And says, Suns first-round pick Ryan Dunn talks about coming to Phoenix. His brother Justin Dunn, first-round pick by the Mets in 2016, living out here, rehabbing an injury. So here's what Ryan Dunn had to say post-draft. Clip's about 43 seconds long. And here we go.
What do you think about going to Phoenix?
I'm excited. Great program. You know, they want to go win a championship, and they got great players to do it. So, you know, I'm excited to get down there and go to work and see what I got to do just to get there.
And how do you feel about you and your brother, both first-round picks in different sports?
It's crazy because he lives in Arizona as well. So we're both going to be in the same state again, living together. So it's going to be good. But, you know, being from New York, you know, representing not only as two athletes, but as brothers in both different sports, it's amazing, and I'm grateful.
Where is he now since his shoulder surgery?
He's actually in Arizona. That's where he's staying. So he's rehabbing on that. So
He's not with a team right now.
not right now, but he's going to start throwing for teams soon.
Okay.
So yeah, that was just a quick little interview. Thought I'd share that with you guys. All right. No disrespect to Ryan Dunn, but let's move on to Oso Ighodaro. So take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, y'all, because I legit did not know who he was yesterday when we drafted him. In fact, I think a good majority of Suns fans did not know who he was. And that's no disrespect to Oso Ighodaro. I'm excited that we have him. I'm excited we drafted him. It's just I am not a draft expert. You guys know that. I'm far from a draft expert. And I've been saying the same thing for like weeks now. Like, why should I be a draft expert? Because, you know, we all know the Suns' history with drafting up until yesterday, by the way. So maybe that narrative, no, not maybe. That narrative is starting to change now. And I think that's one thing that was proven yesterday was that the Phoenix Suns and the way they draft is now changing. And I forgot to leave out the biggest thing too. And I said this in my YouTube short. Not only did the Phoenix Suns bring in 2 players, technically 4 if you count the two-way contract and the Exhibit 10 contracts with the guys that we signed. Not only did they bring in 2 to 4 players, young players who are rookies, by the way. So now we actually have youth and talent on this team, but we ended up with future draft picks. More on that later, by the way. No more can you guys say, we don't have any draft picks. We don't have any young talent to develop. We have it now, y'all. Embrace it. Okay, now we can finally talk about Oso Ighodaro. My apologies, y'all. The show's going all over the place. Oso Ighodaro, 6'10", center, 21 years old. I believe he's about to be 22 soon, from Marquette. So yesterday when we were live reacting, this was some of the stuff that I read on like NBA.com, Bright Side of the Sun. We're going to read some quotes from The Athletic as well, some stuff that I was reading about him. But the short version, undersized rim running big. He is a quality passer, a solid screener, and is very athletic. There was one funny thing that was going around. We reacted to it yesterday. Quote, he's like having an athletic version of Yusuf Nurkic. Seems like an offensive big, high IQ. He really does seem like a smart guy. I've watched some interviews. I watched this one thing where he was like breaking down plays from other NBA teams, and he like knew it before it happened. So he seems like a really smart guy. This comes from The Athletic right here. Quote, his blend of playmaking and synergy with Tyler Kolek, who, by the way, I really wanted Tyler Kolek, in ball screens was a sight to behold. He was constantly communicating with his teammates and helping them get into the right spots. Let me read you that last part, you guys, because that's probably my favorite takeaway from this quote. My dogs are getting into a huge fight downstairs. Sorry, y'all. That's probably my favorite quote from this Athletic part. And by the way, you guys know me. I'll put all the links down below in the description for all my sources, credit. I get nerdy about that kind of stuff, so I like to give credit where credit's due. Quote, he was constantly communicating with his teammates and helping them get into the right spots. That is huge. I don't care if you're a veteran, if you're LeBron James or a rookie, like communicate with your teammates, telling them to get into their right spots. Quote, he's an incredible passer from all areas of the court. And I'm not sure I saw someone as dynamic in screens and rescreens. handoffs, and the little ways big men help their guards get loose on the perimeter. Close quote from The Athletic. I should have screenshotted it and put it on the screen. My bad, y'all. My fault. John Hollinger from The Athletic has some really good things to say. Quote, Ighodaro was one of my favorite sleepers in the draft. He's an Arizona native who comes home and joins the Suns. Quote, with his ability to pass from the elbows and switch onto the perimeter defensively, I think he's capable of playing a backup 5 minutes immediately. Although he doesn't have some of the, quote, traditional big things, rebounding, blocking shots at a super high level. So, like I said, y'all, undersized, rim running big, high IQ, good passer. And I cannot let go of that quote from The Athletic. He was constantly communicating with his teammates and helping them get into the right spots. I love that. I love that. And I'm not saying Ryan Dunn's not going to do that, because I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll be a dog. I'm sure he'll be in a good way. He'll be an annoying pest on defense in a good way. I love that, y'all. Kevin O'Connor from The Ringer. Quote, well-rounded defender, best suited in a switching scheme next to a rim protecting center. He has the quickness to play out on the perimeter and the size to help at the rim. He brings mobility, intelligence, and a grit to defense. And there is so much more. The cons that I read, obviously the size. I don't know how great he is on defense. He's a non-shooter. He won't take that many jumpers, and he's not a good free throw shooter. Now, look, I only watched about 5 minutes of an 8-minute highlight video. So I don't want to sit here and act like I'm a Oso Ighodaro expert, because I'm not. But the time in the film that I watched, there was actually a lot of things that I liked, especially the rim running. I even saw one thing that I read. I forgot who wrote it, but there were times when he was playing with Marquette where he took the ball up himself. I'm not saying he playmaked, but he took the ball up himself. This is a 6'10" big man who can run and rim roll and set hard screens and all that. Also, when he dunks or like catches a lob and an alley-oop, it's a lot of fun to watch because he's huge. And there were times where he would post up, and I don't know if the defender was bigger or about his size. I didn't see too much like strength, but I did see how he was confident in just floating the ball up there and scoring that way. Or maybe being a little crafty, like rolling off of his guy or his defender, excuse me. And again, this was only a few times that I saw it, but he actually used the hook shot. I'm not saying he used like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook, because nobody does that for some reason, but he actually used a hook shot. I couldn't believe it. I hope he does that in Summer League. I hope he does that when he plays. He actually uses the hook shot. I love it, y'all. By the way, like I said, he's almost 22 years old. He is from Arizona. He went to Desert Vista High School. Was a 4-star recruit, played 4 years at Marquette, averaged nearly 14 points a game, 6.9 rebounds, 2.9 assists last season, and shot 57% from the field. So it looks like we got ourselves potentially maybe a sleeper in the draft. We will see. I'm excited for this kid, man. Like, I really mean that. And I'm also excited for Ryan Dunn. I don't want to sound like I'm not, but I'm really excited for Ryan Dunn too. Let me take a sip of my water, y'all, and we will continue to move on here. Delicious. I like this comment from Saul here. Finally, some athletes on this team. Intrigued with Bridges as well. We're going to talk about him in a minute. True 3-and-D player. Sawbucks. Ryan Dunn living in the gym, Mamba mentality, and will learn the offense from Booker, KD, and Bull. He's going to be okay. Thank you for that comment. That's what I talked about yesterday. And I talked about it, I think, when we drafted him. I understand the concerns. I do. Like, I understand that teams will be honing in on our big three, and they're going to have to kick it out to Ryan Dunn, who will probably be in the corner. I get it. But we don't need any more offense, y'all. Not yet anyways. And can we at least give the kid a chance? Let's see how he looks in like 10 games. And then maybe I'll change my tune if the three-point shot isn't working. But like, can we at least give the kid a chance first? See what he looks like? You know what I mean? Like, let's give the kid a chance. So I agree. Like, I think he's going to be okay, y'all. Jobin says, now I'm even more excited for next season. Me as well. I'm hyped. Okay, let's move on to the, oh yeah, real quick. And I hope I'm getting this right, y'all, because it's a lot. So don't kill me in the comments if I don't get it right. We sort of mentioned it. We reacted to it in live time. But how did the Phoenix Suns even get the pick that was Oso Ighodaro? Excuse me. In order to move up from the 40th pick, the Suns traded the 56th pick and the 51st pick. Now, I think I read this on Bright Side of the Sun. They had the 51st pick. Yes. Phoenix traded the 2028 second round pick via Boston to New York to acquire 51, then traded it back to New York with 56 for 40. That's nuts. Like, it seems like they made like 2 trades just to trade up and get Oso Ighodaro. That's nuts. I love it though. That's like a 2K kind of thing right there. A couple more things I want to talk about with Oso Ighodaro. And this is from another good follow. If you don't already, they have a great podcast. Thank you. I wish this was true, but it's not. Suns Geek is so great. He explains things perfectly. No, I do not, but I appreciate the kind words. I'm sure you were joking, but I wish I was able to do that. All right, cool. So let's move on here, y'all. Great podcast, great follow on Twitter. Scooper Hoops. You guys might know him as Sam Cooper from the Timeline podcast. And give me a second here, you guys. Let's just make sure you guys can read that. Okay, let me full screen myself. All right, cool. So he says, Oso. Ooh, I got to fix that. That does not look good for my, hold on. My bad, you guys. He says, Oso is technically an undersized big at 6'10", but recorded the third highest vertical among centers, 39.5 inches in this class, and the second highest standing vert at 35 inches. He is another impressive athlete. That comes from Sam Cooper from the Timeline podcast. And speaking of Sam Cooper, he had another tweet that I liked. And here he's talking about Kevin Durant and Ryan Dunn, obviously, or in the tweet. And he says, stating the obvious, but the Suns taking Dunn and stating the obvious, but the Suns taking Dunn and Ighodaro really underscores their commitment to Kevin Durant, as everything those two guys can do is heightened by having a 7-footer who can space and protect the rim playing next to them. I like that tweet right there. Good tweet by Sam Cooper of the Timeline. Another tweet by somebody you guys are probably familiar with here. Kellen Olson from Arizona Sports. Beat writer, long time covering the Suns. Ighodaro, really fundamentally sound, high IQ player that is a perfect match for the intangibles/experience combination that James Jones seeks out. Brings more playmaking to the 5, ready to play right now. That's from Kellen Olson from Arizona Sports. And finally, Phoenix Suns posted this. They posted some other stuff. It's all on their Twitter and socials. But there it is. The Phoenix Suns 2024 NBA draft class. Now, they didn't include Jaylen Bridges here because that was an undrafted 2-way contract. I'm sure once that's all official, they will post about it. But there's our picks. Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro in their draft hats on draft day. There's Ryan Dunn and there's Oso Ighodaro. And then it looks like somebody here somebody got photoshops of them in their jerseys. Let me lower that so you guys can see it. Not the best. I mean, I know nothing about Photoshop, but there's Photoshop there, Photoshop there. Those aren't their official jersey numbers, by the way. This is just a fun little Photoshop that somebody posted, but yeah. So let's move on here, y'all. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about these next three players because I'm going to be real with you guys. I learned a lot about them besides Jaylen Bridges just today. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about these players and you should listen to what I have to say. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here and BS you guys. This is just a little bit of film that I've watched and some notes that I've taken. Maybe in a future video, post free agency, when things start to calm down, I'll dive more into them. And not to sound disrespectful to these players, but they're on certain contracts. It's not like they're like part of the Suns' long-term plans. You know what I mean? And it's funny I say that because they could make the roster and be a big part of our team. But I'm just saying, like, they didn't get drafted for a reason, you know? So, all right. Let's move on to Jaylen Bridges. This happened about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes after I ended my show yesterday. Shams Charania from The Athletic said that Baylor's Jaylen Bridges agrees to a two-way NBA deal with the Suns. Bridges chose the Suns over several other two-way offers. So hell yeah to Jaylen Bridges for choosing us over many other offers. And Jaylen Bridges, we're just going to pull up this tweet here. That will kind of give us a little bit of insight because I don't know that much and I can't show you guys the highlights because I will get copyrighted, especially with like the NBA is strict with highlights, but college ball is really strict with the highlights. But this comes from Chris. I don't want to butcher that last name, but Chris NBA Scouting. There's the link. You guys can check it out. Jaylen Bridges is one of the most NBA ready complementary wings in this class. Can immediately contribute for a championship contender. 6'8" wing that shot 41% from three on 5 attempts per game, while also being very active in the passing lanes as the defender. Seamlessly skill set. That is Jaylen Bridges right there. That's the short version of Jaylen Bridges. But I took some notes. My apologies to y'all for not screenshotting this and uploading it. I usually do that. It was a long day. My bad, you guys. Anyways, let me just read you guys some stuff here from Jaylen Bridges. 6'7" forward who played alongside of Yves Missi and Jacoby Walters, who were both drafted in the first round. At Baylor, averaged 12 points per game, nearly 54% shooting, 41% from three, again on 5.1 attempts, shot 82% from the free throw line, and added 5.7 rebounds. And one thing that I saw when I was watching some highlights, 60% at the rim. That's pretty good. 60% at the rim. It's not great, but it's pretty good. Sort of a crafty, shifty player as well, kind of like Oso Ighodaro. I saw some shiftiness and craftiness, especially when attacking the rim. I'm that dude. I would love to show you highlights, man. I can't. I'll get copyrighted. I can't do it. Just go to YouTube, man. Check it out. Like, keep watching this show, please, but just I can't do it, man. Shout out to Mary. Appreciate you being here. She says, hopefully we will be able to use these guys because last season we didn't use a lot of guys who were on the bench. Exactly. I know that's the excitement. That is the upside and potential with all the guys that we got, Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Jaylen Bridges, Tyrese Samuels, all the guys that we got. The fact that these guys can hopefully contribute right away, because that will also help take pressure off Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, and whoever is left on our team. Because just so you guys know, free agency is, not tomorrow, but Sunday, pretty much. And then it goes like all off season long. But it's like that free agency week. June 30th, which is a Sunday. June 1st, contracts can't be like signed officially until I think like June 6th. That's when like a lot of these deals will actually become official. But yeah, so free agency, it's almost here, y'all. It's gonna get nuts. A little bit more on Jaylen Bridges, and we'll move on here. I believe this was from Benjamin Yu, and I hope I pronounced that right. Benjamin Yu, who wrote this. Jaylen Bridges enters the 2024 NBA draft as a prospect who has the potential to be a 3-and-D wing due to his shooting and defensive upside, coupled with his high basketball IQ and competitive blah, blah, blah. I can't talk. Coupled with his high basketball IQ and competitiveness as a player, Bridges has the traits of what a good role player should be. So it seems like we got a 3-and-D wing who could potentially contribute to a championship team like the Phoenix Suns. Okay, moving on here. Not going to spend too much time on this, y'all, because I literally had to pretty much cram my brain and learn a lot on the fly about these guys. But first, I want to just quickly talk to you guys about Exhibit 10 contracts, and you're going to see why in a minute. I didn't really know what this was up until just today, but the short version, an Exhibit 10 contract is a 1-year minimum salary contract with no other bonuses. The Exhibit 10 attachment gives NBA teams the ability to convert the contract into a 2-way deal, but only if they do it before the start of the regular season. Now, after the show, I'll put a link to all my sources. Hoops Hype has a full breakdown on what an Exhibit 10 contract is. So you guys are probably like, Suns Geek, we don't care. Why are you saying this? Well, yesterday, or was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. The Phoenix Suns, and this was breaking news. A couple people did report this. The Phoenix Suns signed Florida forward Tyrese Samuel to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Suns, according to John Shep. I hope I pronounced that right. Samuel averaged nearly 14 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game to earn AP second team all SEC honors in 2023-24. Now, I haven't read the full story, but there is a story linked there. I'm going to read it later. It's all about Tyrese Samuel and all that. So just wanted to update you guys on that. And then I'm going to butcher this name. We're just going to call him Boo for right now. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. We're just going to call him Boo for right now because you guys know me. I cannot pronounce last names. If you guys were on the show yesterday and the day before, you guys know that. But according to John Shep, who also reported the Tyrese Samuel news, Northwestern's all-time leading scorer, Boo, has agreed to an Exhibit 10 deal with the Phoenix Suns, he's being told. Averaged 19 points per game, 5 assists, 3.4 rebounds, 1.4 steals, 43% from three this season, which were all his career bests, will have a path to compete for an open 2-way contract slot. So again, I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm an expert on all of these guys. I'm still learning them. Give me some time. Maybe I'll do like a future video and we'll break down these players, but gotta give me some time, you guys. So that's that. And then again, we ended up with future draft picks. The narrative that the Suns don't have any picks, the Suns don't have any young talent is gone now. That is gone. Let's move on here, y'all. So there was some news today, and it got a little confusing at one point. Let me take a sip of my water and we'll move on here. And we're also pretty much done talking about the draft for the most part. So, all right, here we go. So there was some news today. There was some accidental reporting. I put that in quotations. Evan Sedri, who does great work covering the league, accidentally put out a tweet saying that Josh Okogie was going to exercise his player option and return to the Suns. Then he quickly deleted it. Then Mike Scotto, who I trust, a reporter who I trust, has inside information with Hoops Hype. It was probably like an hour later, I want to say, tweeted out, and I'm going to pull it up here so you guys can see it. Give me a second here, you guys. I'm sorry, y'all. That Josh Okogie, let me see. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Can you guys see that okay? There we go. That looks better. So, according to Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype, sources, Phoenix Suns guard Josh Okogie is declining his 2.9. I can't talk today, y'all. He's declining his player option and will enter unrestricted free agency. Hoops Hype has learned. Now, I have some thoughts on that right away. But before I get to the thoughts, Gerald Bourguet, again, does great work for PHNX. Great guy, great coverage. I've been on their show before. One time, it was great. It was an absolute blast. He apparently was told by a source, maybe it was my boy Flex from Jersey, maybe it wasn't. Per a source, this is coming from Gerald Bourguet, Josh Okogie opting out doesn't mean he's gone. Suns want to re-sign him for a little more than the vet minimum. Top priority is Royce O'Neal, which they'll get done. Then Okogie, then Bull. He says maybe tougher. After that, they'll target a vet minimum point guard and maybe a two guard. So let me just quickly reread that because I can't read. Per Gerald Bourguet's sources from PHNX, Josh Okogie opting out does not mean he's gone, and he is right about that, you guys. That's why they call it unrestricted free agency. That's why they call it free agency. You can do whatever you want. You're a free agent. And I believe Gambo even said that. Now, this was a while ago, but I think John Gambo from Arizona Sports said that the Suns want to bring back Josh Okogie. Suns want to re-sign him for a little more than the vet minimum. Top priority, however, is Royce O'Neal. He mentions in this tweet, which they will get done. Then Okogie, then Bull, which may be tougher. After that, they'll target a vet minimum player. Or a vet minimum point guard, and then maybe a two guard. So, and then he follows that tweet up with Okogie's bird rights. The Suns have Okogie's early bird rights, which allows the team to re-sign a player for up to 175% of his previous salary or 105% of the league average salary in the previous season, whichever is greater. Now, look, y'all, I know little to nothing about the salary cap, so I think that that's a good time to play this great SpongeBob thing right here.
A lot of boring math later.
Yeah. So the Suns have his bird rights, and according to Gerald Bourguet, they do want to bring him back and like restructure the contract. So, sorry guys, I'm just sending a text message. Give me 1 second here. My bad, y'all. Okay, cool. So that's the update on Josh Okogie, who, if Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype is right, which I believe he is, and his reporting is pretty accurate most of the time, it seems like Josh Okogie is going to like test the waters of free agency. And that's okay. You can do that. Like, you're a free agent. It's okay to see if maybe you can get a bigger offer. I'm sure he'd want to be on a contending team. And, you know, we'll just see what happens. Now, if you're asking me, would I welcome back Josh Okogie? Absolutely. But that might get tricky because obviously we just drafted Ryan Dunn. Let's say it works out with Jaylen Bridges too. Let's say he impresses in summer league, impresses during preseason, and we like sign him. And by the way, two-way contracts are a lot longer than they used to be, and you can have 3 of them on your roster. So let's say Jaylen Bridges just like shocks us all. And let's say Ryan Dunn is like playing great. And let's say we bring back Royce O'Neal, who also is a 3-and-D guy. Like, is there room for Josh Okogie? You know what I mean? And I love Josh Okogie. I do. But like, there may not be enough room and enough roster spots. Now, we all know Josh Okogie works his tail off, and he's a great defender. But the shot hasn't really improved. He's pretty good at getting to the free throw line. I'll give him that, but I don't know. So, like, I would welcome Josh Okogie back, but, like, what if Josh Okogie and his agent are like, you know, hey, we can get more money elsewhere and we can get more playing time. You know what I mean? We'll have to see, y'all. But that is the latest update on Josh Okogie. So shout out to Mike Scotto and Gerald Bourguet for that information. So let me make sure I'm not missing anything else. Okay. Last Phoenix Suns topic. Do me a favor, you guys. We're almost 50 minutes in. Get any comments or questions in now. We're going to talk about the Suns Summer League schedule, and then we're going to just talk some NBA stuff too, because there was a big trade today. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of my water. Get your comments, questions in now, and we'll continue the show. My bad, Joe. How you guys doing tonight? You guys doing good? Let me know how your night's going. Let me know what you're doing tonight. After this, y'all, like I said, I hope that I'm able to like take a break for a while. Not for a while, but for at least for a day and unwind and like play some video games and live a normal life, you know. Jobin says, great, man. Glad you're doing well. Chantel, I'll try to find your question, but feel free to put it in the chat again. The chat moves fast, y'all, and I appreciate y'all. By the way, crush that like button, y'all. Share the show. Get active in the chat, y'all. I'll do my best to try to read all the comments. Just the fact that you guys are like commenting and watching. We have 157 people in here. That's amazing, y'all. And real quick, you guys, I'll talk about this later. But during those live shows, at one point we had 350 people in there. Like, that's amazing, y'all. You guys are awesome. I'm gonna quickly just scroll up and find some of the questions because I did see some questions in here that I would like to talk about. So if I missed your question, feel free to put it in the chat. And yeah. If this is true, Jabin, I'm a little sad. He says 45 watching and only 4 likes. What the F are we doing? That might be YouTube. Sometimes takes a while to update. And I am also live on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. So it's probably still updating the numbers. But if that is true, crush the like button, y'all. Seriously, stop what you're doing. Crush the like, y'all. All right, guys. I see some questions in. I'm highlighting them. We'll get to them in a minute. He says, 29 likes. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I figured. But guys, the fact that you guys that there's 29 likes and I'm sitting here just rambling about the Suns is awesome. Okay, guys. Let's wrap up this Phoenix Suns news. It was announced today. The NBA Summer League schedule. It came out. Summer League is, I believe, July 11th or 12th through like the 20-something. It's in July, pretty much. But here is the Phoenix Suns Summer League schedule. It is announced. It is official. We'll see Ryan Dunn. We'll see Oso Ighodaro. We'll see Jaylen Bridges and maybe the other guys that we got too. They haven't announced the roster yet, but this is the Suns Summer League schedule. July 13th, 8 p.m. versus the Warriors. July 16th versus the Pacers. July 17th versus the Thunder. And July 19th versus the Bucks. Now, there's 2 games on there that are to be determined, but that is the Suns Summer League schedule. Can't wait for the Suns Summer League roster. That should be coming out soon. I'm sure they're literally working on that roster as we speak. And I will do my best to update you guys on that when that information is out. So I just wanted to share that with you. The Suns Summer League schedule is out. And guess what, you guys? We'll actually have rookies on this team that we can watch and we can analyze and we can give our thoughts on. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Unfortunately, I will not be at Summer League. I went to Summer League from like 2016 to like 2019. It was an excellent time every time. Shout out to my guy, DJ Ocho, if you're watching. I wanted to go in 2022 and last year. Just didn't work out that way. You know, it's expensive. It's a lot of travel, and you guys know how it is, but maybe next year. My goal, one of my goals is to get there next year, film a bunch of videos, maybe do some podcasts and all that. We'll see. Maybe next year. Maybe 2025 Summer League is when I'll go. So guys, before we end the Phoenix Suns news, I will do my best to answer your questions. So let's start here. What do you think the Suns do with Nasir Little, David Roddy, and do you see Nurk being traded, says Chantel. Hopefully this is the question that you asked. Great question, Chantel. The Nurkic trade is a lot more complicated than I think people realize. I was actually in a group chat and they were getting in this kind of not heated debate, but it was a little bit of a debate. And one of my responses to somebody was, the fact is, if Matt Ishbia, CEO Josh Bartlestein, and GM James Jones, if they like Yusuf Nurkic, he's not going anywhere. Now, I know there's concerns with the fit and all that. Nurk is still under contract, I believe, for 2 more years. So if they like him, he's not going anywhere, y'all. The Nurk trade is complicated. And I don't mean to sound like a know-it-all here, but this is how I look at it. Just because people out there, a decent amount of Suns Twitter, just because some of Suns Twitter wants Nurkic traded, doesn't mean it's going to happen. It has to make sense for both sides. They're not just going to trade Yusuf Nurkic to trade Yusuf Nurkic. So remember that, you guys. Try to remember that. Just because a player's there and we could potentially trade Nurkic, it's got to work for both sides. Nasir Little and David Roddy, to my knowledge, are still under contract. That gets tricky as well. Like, do they maybe trade them? I don't know what's going to happen with them. Worst case scenario, they're still on this roster competing for minutes. We saw flashes of Nasir Little before he got hurt. I don't know. I will say this, though. It would be tough to be Nasir Little and David Roddy. I hope they're working on their games right now because the depth chart is only going to get they're going to fall down the depth chart. You know what I mean? Like they got to be working their tails off to get minutes next year, if they're even on this team. Next question. Let's see if I can get to this one. Suns Geek, do you think we'll stick to the big three ball handling next season, or will Bud change it up and with the point guard? Thank you for this great question, Danger. Excuse me. I'm leaning towards we actually get somewhat of a point guard, even if it is just a guy that can help take the ball up the floor and set up the big three. I hope we get some kind of, quote, point guard or guard. Now, remember, when Coach Bud was hired, and I'm paraphrasing what he said, he pretty much said, I think we're going to need a point guard, but we have to learn to play without a point guard. So that's pressure on really everybody on the team. Even Kevin Durant, even Devin Booker, even Bradley Beal. That's pressure on them. And he's right. Let's say we get a point guard. Let's say we get a really good point guard or even a decent point guard. Doesn't matter. Coach Budenholzer is absolutely right. They have to learn to play without one. So hopefully that answers your question, Danger. I hope we get one. This isn't really a question, but more of a comment. Priority point guard, or priority is point guard, is Kyle Lowry, if not Cameron Payne. I definitely want Cameron Payne back. I'm not sure what the status is on Kyle Lowry. I think he is a free agent, Jobin. I believe he is, but like, what if the Sixers want him back? Like, I don't know. He is getting older. He's not the all-star Kyle Lowry, and he's not, that borderline all-star player that he once was. And I wouldn't mind him, but it would have to be for the right price. I don't know how the fit would look. I don't know. Like my guy Manuel says, we just need a decent point guard. I 100% agree. So let me just scroll up a minute and make sure I didn't miss any comments. Let's see. Andy Cruz says, hot take. Oso should be our big four. Or I don't know if you meant to say starting four, but if he earns that right, that's asking a lot though, man. I see the vision though. Danger says, Okogie is irreplaceable and a huge culture guy. I agree with the culture guy part. Hopefully we can get him back. I agree for the most part. Let's see. Jason Ham says, I really think coaching was the problem because I did not feel Devin Booker was Devin Booker. He took less shots because they put him at point guard and was best as a shooting guard in 2023. Yeah, I'm just trying to forget about last year, y'all. Just so many things went wrong. But I will say this, continuity, chemistry, a full off season, a full preseason, and hopefully a full season with the big three under your belt can do great things. So we will see if not only Devin Booker can be better, and that's saying something for a guy that made second or third team All-NBA, but if Devin Booker can be better, KD, Beal, etc. Jason Ham says, sorry, I'm fixing my, why do I still have these on? We're not even listening to anything. Why do I still have my headphones on? Jason Ham says, I've been thinking about the backup shooting guard, Malik Beasley, who I believe is an unrestricted free agent, I think, or he's entering free agency or something like that. I believe Malik Beasley is good. Luke Kennard is good. Maybe just injuries, but the Suns can probably change that if they fit Budenholzer's system. Those would be two guys I would like to have on this team. Injuries have been a problem, I believe, for both of them, but they can both shoot. They got good size. They can contribute with their shooting. Melvin says, bruh, the Suns are going to pick up Chris Dunn. I hope so, because I made a video about that. Danny Ainge is going to put a good word for him. Mark my words. I hope that's true, man. I really hope so. I would not mind Chris Dunn on this team. All right, y'all. I think that's it. Again, if I missed your question, I apologize. We're gonna get to one more topic that I do want to talk about. Maybe two more topics. We'll see. If you guys missed it earlier today, DeJounte Murray from the Atlanta Hawks, and I'm gonna mute my thing just in case because there's like ads and stuff and all that. Excuse me, my voice is cutting out because I've live streamed for like 7 or 8 hours in the last like 3 days. Okay, if you missed it though, the New Orleans Pelicans are trading DeJounte Murray. No, I'm sorry, I totally butchered that. I'm sorry, guys. It has been a long 3 days. I'm so sorry. Let me change my words there. The Atlanta Hawks, excuse me, are trading DeJounte Murray to the New Orleans Pelicans. More thoughts on that later. For 2 first-round picks, a 2025 selection, which was the Lakers pick, and then the least favorable in 2027 from either the Bucks. So pretty much DeJounte Murray from the Hawks getting traded to the Pelicans for future picks, a couple of them in the first round. Forward Larry Nance, EJ Liddell, and Dyson Daniels, who's like a versatile defensive young wing. They're all going to Atlanta. And the Pelicans get DeJounte Murray. So it's DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson, maybe Brandon Ingram, ? And not to mention a really good player in Trey Murphy and a really great defender in Herb Jones and whoever else they got. I think they got Yves Missi from the draft too. So not only did the Western Conference get better, but the Pelicans got a little better. And again, free agency's in like 24, 36 hours or whatever. Maybe they make some moves. Maybe Brandon Ingram gets traded. I don't know. Maybe he signs with another team. I don't know. But either way, you have DeJounte Murray, Zion Williamson, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy. That's a pretty good team right there. And again, question mark on Brandon Ingram. So I have the little graphic up, as you guys can see, the Atlanta Hawks future. And I've been checking my noties. Nothing's happened yet. But this pretty much tells me that the Atlanta Hawks are probably going to blow it up because it just has not worked. And I have to scroll down a bit to find it. But speaking of the Hawks potentially blowing it up, there was a tweet earlier, and real quick. Speaking of the Hawks blowing it up. Now, look, this could be nothing. This could be something. And I even checked it just to make sure. Trae Young on his Instagram, you can go to Trae Young's Instagram right now. Trae Young took down all of his Atlanta Hawks pictures on his Instagram. Now, again, that could be nothing. That could be something. You guys see it right there. There's Trae Young's Instagram. He took all the Atlanta Hawks stuff down. But it's not just that I want to focus on. There was a tweet earlier that pretty much said that Jaylen Johnson, who I am a big fan of. I love Jaylen Johnson, big fan of him. Jaylen Johnson and number 1 overall pick, and I hope I'm saying this name right, Zachariah Riache. Hopefully I didn't just butcher that. The first overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft. They are the only 2. Here's the tweet right here. They are the only 2 players who are pretty much, quote, untouchable. And I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So this comes from Jake Fisher from Yahoo Sports. That again, Zachariah Riache, Jaylen Johnson are expected to be the only players on the Hawks who who they won't shop in trade talks. Then, literally hours later, DeJounte Murray gets traded. So now, and I quote tweeted this saying, now the question is, what happens with Trae Young? Even if they keep Trae Young, like Clint Capella's probably gone, DeAndre Hunter's probably gone. Like, they're probably going to blow it up or go in a very strong retool. That's how I look at it. Because, yeah, they made the conference finals in 2021, but that was a weird year. They've had front office changes since then. They've had a head coaching change since then. I believe Landry Fields is their GM. I just totally blanked out on who their head coach is. But anyways, they have a new coach, new GM, and now they have new players and future draft picks with their team. So will Trae Young be on the move? That is the question. Will Clint Capella get dealt? Will DeAndre Hunter go to a new team? I don't know. But if Jake Fisher's reporting is true, which I believe usually it is, the only untouchables on that team are Jalen Johnson and Zachariah Riachet. So we will see what happens with the Atlanta Hawks. I'm very intrigued. I'm excited to see what happens. But DeJounte Murray was traded from the Hawks. He is now a Pelican. So we will see what happens with the Hawks. Two more quick final topics, then we're going to get out of here. And let's start with this one right here, because it does involve a former Phoenix Sun. Actually, these last two topics are both former Phoenix Suns. You guys remember a player by the name of Chris Paul? This is coming from Woj, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. ESPN sources: Golden State and Chris Paul intend to move back the date guaranteed to the $30 million salary on his 2024-25 contract to the start of free agency. Deadline was originally today. This gives the Warriors time to keep exploring trades. So it seems like Chris Paul is either going to be traded, or I doubt it's going to happen, but potentially waived. He'll be on a new team next year. And I think that's good for both sides. I wanted Chris Paul and Steph Curry to work. If that was like 5 years ago, that would have been amazing. Them together would have been one of the best backcourt duos in the league. I think there was times where they showed flashes of what they could have been, but it just did not work. The Warriors are in such a weird spot. Everything going on with Clay, Draymond Green, I hate him. Draymond Green aging, being suspended all the time. They have a lot of young talent, but Steph Curry's not going to be there forever. Draymond Green's not going to be there forever. Klay Thompson could be moved this offseason. So moving on from Chris Paul is probably the right move. And I sort of have a hot take, y'all. I wouldn't mind Chris Paul coming back. That's not for nostalgia. That's not for the vibes. I would not mind Chris Paul coming back for the right price. I'm just saying, don't kill me in the comments. I wouldn't mind Chris Paul coming back. Speaking of former Phoenix Suns, this is going to be our last topic here because my voice is starting to run out. Super Dario Saric, a little update on him, also with the Warriors. Excuse me. Dario Saric is expected to receive a strong market in free agency from teams in need of a floor spacer big man. Saric averaged 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2.3 assists, while shooting 37% on threes for the Warriors. I love Super Dario. Always have, always will. I love Chris Paul. Don't know what team's going to get Dario. Hopefully he lands on a contender. I love Super Dario. I love Chris Paul. Guys, I think that's it. I think that's all I got for you guys tonight. I need to somehow recuperate. I need to process everything that happened in the draft. I at least need a day for that before the free agency frenzy starts. And speaking of that, I believe it starts Sunday at like 4 Eastern time. So that would be like 3 o'clock my time. I think that's like 1 or 2 o'clock Arizona time. Free agency is here. The draft is over. We already had a big trade, technically 2 big trades if you count the Mikal Bridges one. And we will see what happens, y'all. It's going to be a crazy off season. I'm excited. I will be live for the free agency. And you already know the drill. For any Phoenix Suns news, I'll do a video, YouTube short, or just go live. Appreciate everybody who tuned into this show. I appreciate everybody who will tune in later. Like, we currently have 185 people watching, so I appreciate you guys. You guys are all amazing people. Thank you guys. Just the incredible support that I've had on this channel the last 48 hours has been great. All the incredible support that I've had over the last year, last 2-3 years. You guys are amazing. And yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, y'all. And yeah, I think you are right, Phoenix. He says free agency officially begins Monday. I think you are right, but I'm sure we're gonna hear like a lot of stuff, you know. So it's gonna be nuts, y'all. Jason says, you get some rest, man. Have a blessed night. I know in free agency and the Suns do something unexpected, I'm not gonna sleep. Me neither, man. That's why I want to try to get some rest tomorrow, recharge my batteries, and be ready to go. Jobin says, great stream, Suns Geek. Appreciate you, man. Thank you to everybody. I love you guys. You already know the drill. If it has to deal with the Phoenix Suns, I'm going to make a video about it. Seriously, you guys, do me a huge favor. Crush that like button. Share the show. Tell people about Suns Geek. Word of mouth is still good, right? Tell people about Suns Geek. It really helps the channel. Share the show. Tag me in it if you share the show. I appreciate y'all. You guys are amazing. God bless you guys. Stay safe. Peace out. God bless. Win or lose, Phoenix Suns for life. And I'll see you guys next time. Go Suns.
What's up, Suns Geek?